Hi, I'm Susan Waters from Exceeding Joy. Our scripture this week is 1 Corinthians 1, verse 1. And it says, Paul, called to be an apostle of Jesus Christ through the will of God. We want to look at the first part of that scripture today. And in the four different translations that we looked at, one says, called to be. Another one says called as, so Paul was called as. Another one says called and sent, and another one called out. Now, if God called Paul, he's called you and he's called me. He has a call on each person's life. And understanding that is very important in order to walk out the call that he has placed in our lives and to know the call. If we don't think we're called, how will we even seek him about the call? Jeremiah 1 verse 5 says, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I sanctified you and ordained you a prophet to the nations. Now, God doesn't call everyone as a prophet. He has a call for each person's life. And so before he formed you in your mother's womb, he placed a call on your life. And in Galatians 1:15 it says, but when it pleased God who separated me from my mother's womb, called me through his grace. So through God's grace, he called you and he has placed his call on your life. So I have a few challenges for you today. There's actually 5, but they're short, and normally we won't have this many. But your first challenge is ask God to reveal the call on your life. Be open. Not everyone's called to full-time ministry, but whatever you're called to, that's what is important to be aware of so that you can walk in that calling. Challenge number 2, list your passions. So often we're passionate about what the call on our life is, and if we're not aware of the call, that's okay for now, but it's probably connected to what you're passionate about in your life. Challenge number 3, list your fears. Sometimes the very thing that we're afraid of, it's been an attack of the enemy. In my life, I had a fear of speaking years ago, and I had to overcome that fear by the truth of what God spoke to me, because one of the things that he's called me to do is speak. And when I was bound in fear, I had no desire to speak. I didn't want to, but yet when God set me free from that fear, I love speaking. And so sometimes there's a fear of what you're called to do because, one, you either don't know, you don't understand the call. I had a friend once that was called, and she thought the call meant she had to go to Africa. And so she said, there's no way she's going to Africa. She didn't understand the call on her life. And so we need to seek God about the call, and we will do that down the road. But first of all, if we list our fears, we can ask God. And that's your challenge number 4 is to ask God, is your fear holding you back from your calling? And you want to make sure that if it is, you connect with God and ask him to show you, because you were created for your call. And there's nothing more exhilarating than walking in the call of God in your life. Now, the final challenge, challenge 5, is ask God what step he wants you to take to break free from that fear. So be blessed today as you discover and walk in the call that God has placed upon your life. We'll see you tomorrow.